All right, we're back. We're back. We've got a new Layla. We have Danny Maertens from the CloudShell.
Hello.
Hey, Danny.
I'm
Short
here.
hair. Hey, Danny, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you two?
We're doing well as well.
Thanks for having me.
We're super excited to have you here.
Yeah.
CloudShell has been one of my favorite tools, and I've used Nanger. In fact, when CloudShell and when Terminal came out, I think you and me I reached out to you like, how do I get CloudShell into the Terminal? There was some experimental stuff that I set up, but
We're there.
it's great. Yeah,
We're there.
Now it's into the product, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we're all over the place. We're in the portal, we're in VS
Yeah.
Code, we're in Windows Terminal. List goes on and on.
JP's experimenting with the stream. What have you done to poor Danny, man?
Sorry,
His
I
nose.
was trying to.
He's zooming in.
I was trying
You
to
do
make
it manually.
He's moving your screen up and down. Like,
Yeah, this is amateur OBS hour apparently. And,
oh
but
God,
I will
doing it
I will
live
get
on the
it-
stream. That's the best time.
I will get it. I will get it
So
sorted out.
while JP is trying to fix things, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and
Sure.
what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, Danny Maertens. I am the PM for Azure CloudShell, Win32 OpenSSH, and a few other things kind of around in the PowerShell area. But primarily I focus mainly on CloudShell, and that's kind of what I've lived and breathed for my whole time at Microsoft. I've been here for a little over 3 years, so it's been good to kind of build up CloudShell and the experiences that we really offer on that. But for those who don't know, CloudShell is a browser-based command line experience that comes in the Azure portal as well as other environments like we mentioned before, VS Code, Windows Terminal. And it gives you a shell experience that already comes with a lot of your common tools and languages to manage and develop in the cloud. So you got things like .NET, Python, Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, kubectl, a whole bunch of things, Terraform, Ansible. So it's all kind of there in this one-stop shop environment that you can come and just manage and develop for Azure.
Is there any cost for running this? Because I suspect that people may be asking, like, do I need to pay for the service? Or...
Yeah, so CloudShell itself is free. And so when you go into the Azure portal, all the compute that's behind CloudShell, you don't have to pay for. We do require that you have a storage account, but that's generally a very small cost. I think mine, and I use it. Yeah, I use it a lot. And I've got a lot of stuff in my different accounts. I don't think I break $1.
Yeah, and I think the storage account is more for persistence. Like, so if you're creating scripts, you can upload them, download them, and persist them, so you don't have to recreate them from scratch. If you
Exactly.
And correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, your storage persists across sessions, and so we save all their scripts and files there. And even if there's any tools that we don't include by default, you can install those, and those will persist across sessions. So you can really customize it for your need, which is great.
There's a question from Vicious. Is it something you can do included with a VS Pro subscription?
I don't know if the VS Pro subscription, I don't know if that comes with Azure credits.
It does. It does come with a credit.
Yeah. So if that's coming with Azure credits, it's the same credits that you would use on anything else. You can just allocate those credits when you're doing your billing for storage, and then you'll be able to use CloudShell.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
So what are you going to show us today?
Should I show us? Am I good to go in?
Absolutely, man.
so.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Demo away.
Cool. So we got the Azure portal here. CloudShell is actually this little icon right in the top. So if I click and open CloudShell, it will open up this little iframe at the bottom. And forgive me, my internet's going a little bit slow. So I think
demo, guys. It's fine.
it's sharing the camera and the screen.
You can't have too much,
like
right?
I want to see an internet heat map that shows just the volume of internet traffic leaving different regions of the country.
Oh yeah. All right, let's go to a new tab. We'll just try it fresh. Why not?
It's okay, no pressure.
should have opened it while I was talking. It was the perfect
It's
time,
fine.
you know?
It's fine. Yeah.
It's all good.
One of these days we might eventually go back into the office and get some proper internet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've struggled with the bandwidth that I got here. Oh man.
Where are you based, by the way?
I'm in Redmond, but I'm in an older building, so
Dark
I
spot
don't
of the
think.
internet.
Yeah, we don't have the best lines. I don't think. Wow. All right. Well, we can try something else. How about that?
Thank you, everyone. It was
Yeah,
great
right.
to see you today. Go and try CloudShell. Thank you.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there
here
you
we're
go.
going.
Yes.
Just getting there, yeah.
Yeah. Eventually.
So
It's
while,
fine.
while we're waiting for that to load, I'm curious to ask. So you said that you work on Win32 SSH too?
I do. Yeah. So any of the SSH that you have in box in Windows is what our team develops. So there's the Open SSH project from the OpenBSD Foundation. We've actually taken a fork and we work with the OpenBSD Foundation to make a Windows compatible version of that project. Oh wow! All right,
Oh.
we can wait. Here, let's see it. Let's see if I can pull it up in Windows Terminal.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
adjust.
'cause that's it's pretty cool too. Like, 'cause I had a machine sitting around here, and SSHing into a Windows box, like into a Windows server, felt sort of abnormal at first. But it was super cool. It worked really well, and it was just what I expected.
Exactly. It's we don't want the experience to be really anything different that you'd be used to on a Unix-based machine, and we want to provide that experience in box. You don't have to do a lot of that configuration and installing of other clients as well. I actually got it up on Windows Terminal. So can y'all still see the Windows Terminal screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. So we're gonna lose a little bit of the GUI that we kind of build around CloudShell, but you still have all these other integration points that I mentioned, and these are actually pretty common for most users to come in. They don't want to really mess with their workflow, but they still want to leverage kind of all the tools and the rich environment that CloudShell offers, and so they'll come in through Windows Terminal or VS Code. So now you can see we're in a terminal environment. We're in CloudShell. You can see the little Azure thing up at the top. So kind of right off the bat, we are in a PowerShell experience. We do offer both a Bash and a PowerShell experience. They're actually really the same terminal running behind the scenes. But the only thing we're really doing different in the browser is changing the color to the PowerShell blue, and across the board, we just start PowerShell for you when you select the PowerShell experience. And so even if I want to just switch over to Bash, I can just type in Bash, and there you go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so behind the scenes, it's the same container, and what we're really doing to run CloudShell is we are hosting tons and tons of containers within Azure. And so when you say, hey, I want a CloudShell experience, we're connecting you with one of those existing containers that we have running and just mounting your storage and an image that's custom for you on top of that container. And then we surface that to you. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to switch back over to PowerShell just because that's a little bit more of what I'm comfortable with. And I can zoom in here as well just because I'm sharing again.
Yes.
I zoomed on the browser, but not here. All right.
You
So
came prepared. I have to say that.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about the storage that you have in CloudShell. You can still see here we have something called the CloudDrive. And so anything that you save in the CloudDrive will show up anywhere you have an Azure file share. And so if I navigate into my CloudDrive, I can see this ARM folder, Git, and vNet all anywhere I can look at an Azure file browser. And so if I'm in the portal, I can go and manipulate these files. I can go edit these files. I can copy them, whatever I like, and it would show up in CloudShell as well.
Nice.
So it's really a nice experience to work across different workflows as well. But yeah, just to show a little bit of what is available in CloudShell. Obviously, you've got like Pythons here. We got. It would help if I can spell. Oh, I get help if I put 2 dashes. We got Ruby, we got Perl, we got Terraform, Ansible, a whole bunch of things.
Wait. Did you say Perl?
Yeah, I think Perl's in there now.
Damn, man. How much use does it get? I mean, people still write Perl scripts these
Yeah,
days?
it's there. So actually, taking a step back, CloudShell's running a Debian-based Ubuntu image, not Ubuntu image, Linux image. There we go. And it's actually compiled from source by another team at Microsoft, and we're leveraging that Debian container and it
Nice.
to build and provide the CloudShell environment. And a lot of these tools are we kind of get for free in that Debian image, but on top of that, CloudShell also has its own tools image, which is open sourced on GitHub. So let me actually, I can pull that up. Here we go.
Yeah, I didn't want to steal your thunder there because it's such an important feature. But I remember you and me working on getting that Docker image open source.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm gonna pull another screen over in here if it lets me. Oh gosh.
And I've shared a link to all the CloudShell features, so I'm sure you forgot quite a few of them. There's a ton of things that you can do with CloudShell today. And the nice thing is that you don't have to install anything on your local machine. It just runs. Beautiful.
There we go.
There you go.
Struggling today with my machine. Demo gods aren't in my favor. Yeah, but so here's the CloudShell GitHub repo. We have a lot of things here. You can see that one, if you want this Docker file and you want to run it locally and not really in the CloudShell environment, but you still want all the rich tools and things that it provides, you can go down and scroll down, and there's instructions on how to mount this Docker file locally. And we mentioned a little bit about the tools as well. If you want to go and modify the tools, you can do that in here and submit a PR, and we'll review that and accept or give you other workflow ideas as necessary. And so
let's say I wanted to add some kind of an FTP tool there to be able to mount an FTP server. I
Yeah.
can submit a pull request, and then you guys will review and accept it.
Exactly. And so
Nice.
actually what the cool thing is in here you can see I got this Git repository. I actually have a CloudShell one, and so here I have that repo cloned into CloudShell. And so
Inception.
I know exactly. And so a lot of times when I'll be setting something up, or I need to test a new tool that we're thinking about including, I'll just pull my fork here, and then I'll push it to a little test branch, and then we can do our validation before we kind of pull it into the master branch for everyone else. So it's actually pretty nice. I'm gonna bounce and see if I got my CloudShell working in the term. Oh man, it's not playing nice today. Well, oh well. But yeah, so you got CloudShell built in. We got all these different entry points into CloudShell, but what else can you kind of really do? Again, it's really just a full Debian experience. So we have things like SSH, and so if you have certain machines that you want to connect to, different VMs within Azure, you can go and manage or connect to those. So if I want to look at the different VMs I have, it's just going to spit out all the VMs that I have. It's just I haven't really restricted it down. Obviously, this is more of a demo environment, so I just got these two set up. But we actually have something new for CloudShell called vNET isolation. And so for the existing, I'd say, quote-unquote, regular CloudShell, you're going to have a public IP address, and you can only really manage resources that are that have a public-facing IP address. And so here, if I wanted to connect to like my Windows, or not my Windows machine, my Linux VM, I can go into that. I'm actually going to bounce back over to the Azure portal here, just because I don't know the IP address off the top of my head. But this isn't working.
Requesting a
Oh
CloudShell.
God!
Damn, man.
Oh man!
I know.
This is
So
messing up
is this
my user flow today.
So are these containers? Are they running like on is that infrastructure that your team manages, or is it running on like ACI or something like that, or is it all of the above?
So like all of the above actually. So right now the containers are all running on an infrastructure that we manage. So we're running Kubernetes kind of behind the scenes. And an interesting thing about CloudShell and ACI is the CloudShell project used to be owned by the same team as ACI. Ooh. And CloudShell was the predecessor to ACI. And so ACI was really born out of the CloudShell project. And so eventually they kind of split off, and my team was responsible for just the PowerShell experience, but then we picked up the overall infrastructure and the Bash experience as well. Cool. But yeah, they're really more like brother and sister than anything else. So it's actually pretty cool. But yeah, right now we're running I'd say regular CloudShell experience with our own infrastructure, and then that isolated vNET scenarios that I was talking about a little bit are running on top of ACI, and that's just because when we run CloudShell in an isolated vNET, we don't have access to all the infrastructure that we would kind of in the public domain. If you want a CloudShell experience inside a vNET that you own, you're going to need to start an ACI container, and then use that to run CloudShell. And so that's what we're doing behind the scenes. The experience is still the same. You still click on that same icon. You just set up your settings a little bit differently, and then you'll connect to an isolated shell experience. And I'm still working on the portal kind of on my other screen here to get it up and running so I can show you.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about authentication, because I think we skipped through that very, very quickly at the beginning when your CloudShell was booting up.
We did.
How does it work?
Yeah, so the cool thing about CloudShell is it leverages a lot of the auth that you have from the tool that you're using it from. So if you come in through the Azure portal, if you've authed into the portal, you're authenticated into CloudShell. And so when I log in to the portal, it's Danny@Microsoft.com. And when I open up CloudShell, it will still say, oh, you're Danny@Microsoft.com. And so any actions that I perform within CloudShell will show up with that same identity. And so the auth is, if you're moving out to VS Code or Windows Terminal, you're going to get hit with a device flow login, but you'll just do that same Azure login, and you'll be connected and authenticated into CloudShell. So
does that mean that I need to have some kind of an org behind the scenes to allow me to run CloudShell? What happens if I suspect that if you have your own standalone subscription as an MVP or whatever, so you're not part of the org, then it uses the Azure AD that is part of that subscription to authenticate you, correct? Yeah, and so I have my own personal account, so with my own email, and I use CloudShell on it actually quite often to manage, because I got kind of my own servers and different things running in Azure, and I use CloudShell to manage it there, and I'm the only one in that subscription. So it will just leverage whatever's there by default within Azure. And then it also prompts you, once you log in, I think it also prompts you for choosing a subscription, right? Or the tenant that you want to. Yeah, so it prompts you for a subscription. So when you first log in and you first open the CloudShell experience, it's going to prompt you to select a subscription that you want to use, a storage account that you want to use, and then it will, behind the scenes, either connect to that storage account that you want to connect to, or if you said, hey, just create me a new one, it will create that for you, and then connect you to that shell experience. So this is asking, are you saying that you can actually use VS Code to develop against the CloudShell? Yeah, so let's see. Let me pull up VS Code. While the Azure portal is still loading. Yeah, it actually did load while as you said that, it popped up. So we can pick that. We'll see which one we want to pick first here. While VS Code's coming up, we'll pull up the portal. It won't let me drag. Here we go. Let's just use the little Windows arrow hotkeys and pull it up. Here we go. I had to look that up the other day. I couldn't remember how to move Windows. Can you believe that? You know, I discovered it a few years ago, and my mind was blown. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. Yeah, so here's I'd say the native CloudShell experience in Azure portal. We do offer a lot of kind of
more user control. So if you want to change the text size, the actual fonts that you're using, you can do that. But some of the other kind of cool things that that we kind of provide in Portal are things like
Code editor.
A code editor. Gosh, I clicked the wrong button. Yeah, so there's an in-shell code editor. So if I wanted to go and actually change those files that I was talking about in that Git repository for CloudShell and do any development, I can do that here. So, man, it's going real slow on me. So if I want to go into CloudDrive, into Git, into CloudShell, let's see. And we know it's the browser, not CloudShell. Just saying, because it worked on Windows Terminal. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
And while you're loading this one, random question, but if, let's say I have some code deployed into Azure Functions or Azure Web Apps, can I actually use CloudShell to go and edit that code? Do not code in production, people, but I'm just saying, would that allow me to go and edit the code there?
Yeah, so it depends on where it's saved. So obviously this is looking at the files that are within this same storage account. But there's no reason that the CloudShell storage couldn't be used for something else, or you couldn't pull in a function from there. And so a lot of that kind of back and forth experience is what you kind of get for free with using CloudShell, just because we have such a integration with the other areas in Azure. And that's what I mentioned with the File Explorer earlier, is if you want to go and edit these scripts or files from anywhere else, you can do that.
Or you can git clone locally here, change your code, commit it, and then hopefully your CI/CD on GitHub or Azure DevOps can push it into production. So it's a fantastic experience.
And so here, jumping back to what I got going on, if you wanted to do that, you can just open up the code editor that we have within CloudShell. And I do want to clarify, this is not a full, I say, VS Code experience. It's actually built on Monaco, which is kind of the cousin of VS Code. But it's still, you still get the kind of that full, the same experience that you're used to with VS Code, but we don't have things like extensions and things like that built in. But if you do want that experience, you can run.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, his internet! Oh God!
I don't know what it is. All you West
internet
Coasters,
providers.
all you West Coasters have terrible internet. I just don't understand.
It's the monopoly, my friend. I come from the UK, where there was, there was a lot of availability and variety of internet providers. Here, there's almost like a monopoly. I'm surprised that it has flown under the FAA radar, but dude, I only get Comcast here. Any other option is not applicable. Cloud sync stop.
Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay, we're good. We're back.
Yay!
Oh, am I back?
You're
Yes,
back now?
Great.
We're back.
I didn't know you lost me. I could still hear you the whole time.
You were still talking to yourself like, these are all the amazing things that
I
you do.
was. All right. I don't know what the last thing you heard was, but I got that same tools Docker that I was mentioning from the GitHub repository open here in a code editor. I don't know if you heard me before, but I'm going to repeat myself. This is not a full VS Code experience. It's more of a cousin to VS Code. But if you do want that full experience with extensions and things like that, you can still use CloudShell in a local VS Code experience and get all those extensions. Oh, man. It is not working with me today. All right. Well, you can jump over to VS Code now. See, the nice thing is CloudShell is all these different places. And so there's a multitude of ways to access it and still show it to you, which is great.
Cool.
Yeah, so if you do like the Control-Shift-P thing, you got PowerShell and CloudShell and Bash and CloudShell right there. And so you can just open it up. We'll get rid of this Explorer. Oh, it's going to make me sign in. So here's that same device flow login that I was talking about before. It's going to open up my browser. If my internet, it's really, I think it might just be my browser, because we need the internet to do CloudShell, but it's just going slow on me. All right, cool. So I've now signed in. It's going to go get my terminal, and actually, since I still have that terminal open from earlier, it's going to connect me to that same terminal that I was using to give me a faster experience. So I'm already in that same terminal, and so anything I have here helps if I actually select the right window. It's still there. So I still got that CloudDrive. I can still go in and see the things that are in my CloudDrive. If I created a file, kind of, let's see, touch foo.txt, will it show up? If it's empty, it does. And so if I jump back over to that same Windows terminal, oh man, did I close it? I'm a mess.
No, it's fine.
It's all good.
Okay.
More like my internet's a mess.
Yeah.
But, it's all part of the fun,
It is all
This is
part
how
of
you
the
know
fun.
it's real.
That's right. So
It's not a pre-recorded one, folks.
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
Which you may have been on your way to getting to. So apologies if I'm jumping ahead, but.
No worries.
One side is like we've got the remote development stuff in VS Code, where we can connect to it. We're essentially connecting to like a remote host. Is that something we can do in with our CloudShell container too?
Yeah. So you do have a lot of that. You do have that full remoting capability, and so we are playing around with experiences doing, I'd say, remote development with VS Code. There's not really a full feature that we say like, oh yes, here you go. This is a fully supported feature. But I see no reason you couldn't put something together yourself, since it is really just a full terminal. Something I was going to show were those two VMs and connecting to those VMs, but the internet was going a little slow and I couldn't pull up the actual IPs. So, But yeah, you still, go ahead.
Well, so on that same sort of vein, what sort of things are you like? What kind of things can we not do? Like in terms of, is there certain software that we can or can't install? Like how much freedom do you have in that environment?
So I'd say the main restrictions that we have, and that we kind of have to put in for security and overall health of the service reasons are, you don't have sudo access, which is the big one. But generally, you'd only need that for installing tools. And a lot of the tools that are common for cloud development or cloud administration, we already have in box and are available to you. So most users don't really run into that as an issue. And anything you could be doing kind of on your quote-unquote local machine doesn't really apply for CloudShell, right? So each time you connect, you're going to have a new container, right? So any of the management there, you don't need. So there's no sudo, and CloudShell is only active for 20 minutes after your last, I'd say, use, and that would be if I'm typing in something, and if I say get AZVM or something like this, and I don't touch it, 20 minutes later it'll time out, and that's just to preserve the availability to other Azure customers, and make it kind of easier on our end to manage and make sure it's available for everyone.
Yeah. So there's no definitely. You definitely don't want to run any sort of long-running, nobody should try to install a server and run it here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we do have, we will kill things that you have running. If they're going over 20 minutes, then we're kind of indiscriminate on that. Well, it's automatic and it will happen.
Was it not last year around this time that we had some shenanigans with CloudShell and we were working on infrastructure changes because there was some abuse, right?
Yeah, so it's free compute, right? So it's you're not paying for the container that's running. It's free compute, and so we do have a lot of things with abuse where people will come and mine Bitcoin, right? But we actually have pretty rich in-depth systems to make sure that doesn't happen.
By the way, people, do not abuse the system
don't do
because
it.
you will be banned.
Yes, we will ban you. I'm sorry. So yeah, we've got automated processes for that now, so it's all good. But yeah, it's most customers don't really run into issues with the sudo and the timeout. As long as you're interactively using CloudShell, it's gonna stay there. There is I'd say an upper bound on the timeout that's 4 hours. And that's just to make sure we can update the containers as people are using them, right? So we don't want to leave a container open for days and days and days, and just because it'll get unhealthy, and we want to update the tools that are there. And so after 4 hours of use, we will kind of take it back, but you can just open another shell experience right away. And that 4 hours is, I don't think anyone's ever hit it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to take a lunch break or a snack break, you know?
No, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah, I remember. And this is available too. I mean, just like in the Azure mobile app, right? I mean, I remember spinning up and down VMs from, at least historically, from the mobile app.
Yeah, one of the really good things about CloudShell is it's kind of everywhere that you need it to be. And so the scenario I always like to talk about is one time we were I was talking to a customer who was doing a user group, right? And their machine died on them, right? They had no way of getting into their environments. And they actually pulled it up on their phone and showed they had a little dongle to present their phone, and so they plugged in their phone and they just typed on the little keyboard to show something that they had specifically set up there. But then they realized, hey, I don't need to use my phone. I can use someone else's laptop and just sign into my Azure account in some incognito window, and then I still have my same environment, right?
That's
and
awesome.
so anywhere you kind of need it, it's there. And so there's been ones where like, hey, the machines or the servers went down while I was out to dinner, and I was the only one with permissions to reset them, right?
Right.
And so I can just do that from 2 lines of code that I write on my phone, and it'll redeploy, and it's all set, crisis averted. And so really
that's super cool.
It's a browser-based management and development environment, right? You don't need any specific machine. All you need is the internet.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, and because it's my storage, right? So I'm paying for the storage, so you can store as much or as little as you want to, because that's not free per se, right? That's my own storage account. And
exactly.
I could open Storage Explorer on my machine, or AZ copy some stuff up from somewhere, and as long as it's in the same storage account, it'll all be available. I'll be there.
Exactly.
And then you said things like Terraform and Ansible, all that stuff's there too. So I mean, for deployments and stuff, especially test deployments, this is the place to be.
It's the place to be. It removes a lot of that day-to-day burden of making sure your tools and environments are up to date. And so we update, I'd say, our image that you get every 2 to 3 weeks. Excuse me. And we update that in line with Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell. And so as soon as they update, we should also have an update coming out as well. And so you're always going to have those up-to-date tools. When there's a new Terraform build, we'll pull that in at the next release. And so we really take care of a lot of that management for you. So it's really a nice use.
And you mentioned the tools image. You know, that's out on GitHub, and I'm assuming if I feel like there's a new tool and maybe I'm not super comfortable with how to rebuild the whole container, like just file an issue and this is a tool I'm looking for, or like, is there any other place to say like vote on tools that are pending or that other people want?
Sure. So we do have a user voice, and that's linked in the the toolbar that you get in CloudShell. Is there's a little help button, and that will link you to the user voice. But we're actually pushing people mainly to GitHub now, and so we want folks to file issues if they see any new features or anything like that. We prefer that they go to GitHub, and so if you actually do aka.ms or not, yeah, aka.ms/ here it goes, CloudShell, and there's, you can go to the docs, but we're going to go to feedback today. And this will link you to our issues page. So
cool.
file
Okay.
anything you want there. Yeah. And so we're pretty active in this. Go ahead.
Oh, no, right there, JDK11, Bicep, CLI, like all of
Exactly.
these. Yeah, so those are people who are requesting them, and if I've got the capability, maybe I can go and build it, but if I'm not comfortable, then at least there's a place for me to say, hey, I want this too. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, and
cool.
even just like looking at the PRs, I think the most recent one was merged this morning. So we're looking at it, 2 hours ago. So we're
awesome.
Submit a PR and we'll take it, So
Oh, that's super cool. Awesome.
Yeah, we're by no means is I'd say the image set in stone. If there's anything you want added or updated, just let us know and we'll happy to take a look.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. Anything else we should be aware of? So we talked about the tools. We talked about the availability of the tooling.
Yeah, I'd
where
say
you can work with it.
the last big thing for CloudShell is if you want to play around,
Right.
give it a try. It's free to use. If you already have a storage account, it is free to use. Just use that same storage account. Try stuff out. We are used a lot in learning labs and Microsoft Learn, and just because we give that environment where you don't have to set anything up. So give it a try. Try it out with your environments. My primary, I'd say, development and management environment is in CloudShell, just because I don't have to worry about if I'm using my computer at work, my desktop, my laptop, my personal laptop. As long as I can log into the portal, I can do my job. And so it's really a rich experience with anything you really need.
Very cool.
And if it doesn't have everything you need,
That's
you can make it have everything you need by
Exactly.
customizing the image.
Exactly. and if
So
the portal's going slow,
one more.
oh yeah, go for it.
Oh,
I remember a while back, because it's been a little while since I last tried this, but I remember there was a way you could essentially sort of like reverse proxy you could reverse proxy like the web UI for the Kubernetes administration, for example, and things like that. Or at least CloudShell would help you set that up so that you could because you've got things like kube control up there, right?
Exactly. So we do have a web proxy, and so if I can open it up again, here's my mouse. So here's my 20-minute timeout. So we'll reconnect. But if you look at this button here, or this button here, it's not gonna. Maybe it's not this one. Here we go. There we go. If I click this, it's going to prompt me to open up a port into the CloudShell environment. And so if I did want to develop some web app, I can actually do that and open up a port and deploy it to that port, and I can open it up from CloudShell.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, super, super cool.
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So if you are doing some .NET app, you can deploy it, just set the port, and you're good to give it a try before you deploy.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then I guess I have another question now too. So the isolated containers that we were talking about a little bit ago, are those running are they running like in my vNet? Are they connected to my vNet? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So if you go into the docs, we have a full description there and full instruction how to set it up. We'll see if it'll work for me now. We'll give it a try. But essentially, it's connecting to any pre-existing vNet that you have. So we do require that you already have a vNet. But if you're going to want this scenario, you're probably already going to have a vNet that you want to connect to. So if you go into the CloudShell as a first experience, and you go to advanced settings, this is where you can set any existing storage account that you want to connect to. And so if I go back, I can go and connect to that same subscription and same file share that I was using before. Or in this case, I want to use the vNet settings. And so I'm going to go in and use the vNet settings. So I just select my resource group, my storage account. A lot of these will auto-populate. the file share that I want. And so now I've selected the virtual network, the network profile, and the relay, and I can then attach this. And when this opens, I'll be inside of that vNet. And this will take a little bit longer than the normal CloudShell, and that's because for I'd say regular CloudShell, we have a pool of containers that we can just connect you to, but obviously this container is in your vNet, right? So we don't have containers just sitting in every Azure vNet, right? We have to start you your own terminal, right? And so this is us starting ACI behind the scenes, getting your storage account, mounting that storage. And so this takes a little bit longer. I think the upward bound that's on this is around 1:45, 2 minutes. Usually I hit it in about a minute or less. Hoping it's still that fast today with my browser issues that I've been having, but fingers crossed. But it's working, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome, right? Because if I've got stuff that's only in my vNet, if I've got like a express route or site to site or anything, I can traverse that. I mean, being in the vNet is super, super awesome.
Exactly. And for a lot of, I'd say primarily most cloud assets are in a vNet and don't have a public IP address. And so being able to connect you and manage those resources from really it's a jump box now, right? But you're still getting all those tools. And so instead of having to configure both my local machine and a jump box, I just still have that a browser that I can log into and say connect, and I'm in either I'd say the public IP space or whatever vNet I want. And so I can go and I showed those two VMs that I had earlier. One was a public facing IP, one wasn't. I can go and connect to that not the VM that only has a private IP, and I can, once this opens up, I'll show you. I can go and connect to that machine.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh man,
I know from at least from the customers I've worked with, I can think almost every one of them would absolutely love that because they love networking. They love digging moats around things.
Exactly, right? And like I'd say most customers I talk to have a vNet, and this was actually a newer functionality that we've put out. It's still in preview, so we're rolling out to more and more regions kind of as we speak. But this has been the most highly requested, I'd say, customer requests that we've gotten on our user voice from talking to people at conferences. It's really, hey, when can I manage my private IPs? When can I manage my private IPs? And you can do that now. So go have fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. Like, that's just, that's perfect.
Yeah, it wonked out on me again, so I still can't show you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Well,
but
cool.
The good news is that we have discussed about you coming back and being a regular on the show, right? So every time we have a new release or a new feature, we can get you on the stream and talk about them. So
I will. I would love to come back next time. We have next time we have a big release, I'll join you again and I'll show you some vNet stuff then.
Woo! Excited.
No, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we'd love it.
Yes.
Well, is there anything right now that you're looking for feedback or anything like that on that we can send people down the line to go try out? Or
for sure, yeah. So the vNet stuff is kind of our latest and greatest that we've put out. So if you want to go and try the vNet scenarios, if you hit any bugs or issues, certainly let us know. And besides that, if you want new tools, new features, new languages, file an issue or PR on the GitHub repository, and we will address it promptly, and we'll go from there.
All right, awesome. Yeah, well, we will do it, and we will share it out. And we had a question that the vNet preview that doesn't require any sort of like allow listing of my subscription or anything like that's just available, and I can go try that today in certain regions, I assume.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a setup, but we do have an ARM template that's linked from our documentation. And so if you go to aka.ms/CloudShell, here I'll just pull it up here, /docs/vnet, there's going to be a full doc with all the details. as well as instructions on how to set it up. So
Okay,
if you go to
awesome.
Man, typing. There we go. So if you go to see, yes, I want to leave. There'll be a full instructions here, and there is a little bit of setup just because we have to say this is the subnet we want to deploy CloudShell into. This is the vNet I want to use. There is a little bit of setup that you have to do beforehand, but that only needs to be done once per vNet. And so if we scroll down, there's an ARM template to deploy. I'm just going to kind of skip through this because I figure you can read it on your own time.
Sure, yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah,
there are some ARM templates. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
It's not gated.
So there's
so
exactly.
Cool.
So not gated. There is a template here to set up that needs to be run once per vNet, and then any user that you have that has access to that vNet, they would just need their own storage, and that would be the second quick start template. And so from there, deploy the overall one once for everyone, and the storage once per user.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, this has been awesome. We really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry, my demos weren't working out for us today, but it just means we have more for next time.
Absolutely. And I love the setting up the second date, man.
Exactly.
We got more for the second time.
Putting the plug in already.
Yeah. You're doing a great job. I think we're not idiot anymore. Jump on the stream by yourself and just run it.
There we go.
Cool. So,
your first spin-off.
Right. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of many.
CloudShell after dark would be a great show.
Perfect.
Yes.
So we're going to be back tomorrow on Learn TV. We're going to be talking, or sorry, not tomorrow. We're going to be back Monday. We're going to talk about B2C and multi-tenancy because that's been a big ask. We're going to build a little bit of a bot, I think. Tuesday we're going to be doing some how we got here on OAuth and OpenID Connect, and next Friday, of course, will be the big holiday thing. So everybody have a great weekend. Let's go see what. I guess we can go raid Clark.io. You want to go over there,
Yeah.
Christos? Is that good for everybody?
Yes.
All right, we'll go raid Clark, and we will be back. We'll be back next week. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Have a great weekend, and let's go see what our friends are doing. So, see you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.